listen. Practice, speak. Practice makes you perfect.
We are here to take critical research, strip away the noise, and hand you the actionable knowledge that drives real professional results. Arguably the single most crucial element of long-term success: self-discipline.
That's right. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. We're specifically targeting how this foundational mental strength self-discipline acts as the engine for professional mastery.
Especially when you're tackling high-level, complex skills, right?
Yes.
Like achieving real fluency in business English.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. It requires sustained effort, not just bursts of enthusiasm.
Yeah, and we know the feeling, don't we? You
Yeah.
start Monday with this massive burst of motivation. Maybe you buy new notebooks, plan this intense English study schedule.
Got the highlighters out.
Right? Only to find yourself by Wednesday, maybe even Tuesday afternoon, utterly depleted, sleeping late instead of reviewing those financial reports, perhaps.
Or just, scrolling social media instead of drafting that crucial professional email in English. It happens.
So if that describes your pattern, that whole starting strong and stopping after 2 days thing, then this deep dive is really essential for you.
Why it surpasses motivation. And crucially, we want to give you small, practical habits, things you can implement literally today to start building this mental muscle.
And let's be clear right up front. The goal here isn't some kind of robotic perfection. Nobody expects that.
No, not at all. The real goal is consistency. That's the key.
Okay, let's unpack this powerful concept then. Let's start laying the foundation. When a lot of people hear self-discipline, I think they picture something quite harsh, maybe rigid.
Yeah, like a drill sergeant in your head, constantly stressed, denying yourself everything enjoyable. That's a common image.
But the research we've looked at, it offers a definition that's, well, far simpler and actually much more empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the fundamental concept here?
Well, the core definition is basically this. Self-discipline is the ability to choose your actions based on your predetermined goals.
Right.
Regardless of your immediate emotional state or, your physical desires at that moment.
So doing what you need to do.
Exactly. Doing what you need to do, even when every fiber of your being is kind of screaming, stop, or I'll do it later.
That's the essential insight, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shifts the control. It moves decision-making away from that emotional reactive part of the brain.
The limbic system, yeah. The bit that just wants immediate comfort.
And it places it firmly within the executive function. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles long-term planning.
It's like having a strong inner voice that says, okay, I will do this specific task because it aligns with my 5-year career plan or my goal to get fluent in English.
Not just because I happen to feel like studying right this second.
Precisely. So we define it as active control. It's the capacity to regulate your own actions, your thoughts, and importantly, your emotional responses.
It's that ability to pause the impulse, isn't it? Pause the urge for immediate comfort and prioritize the longer-term, often delayed reward.
That's it. Think of it as developing what some sources call response inhibition, basically stopping the automatic reaction like grabbing your phone or hitting the snooze button.
Guilty.
We all are. And instead, choosing the intentional action, the one you planned.
Let's bring this definition right into the listener's world, particularly the professional one. When we talk about mastering business English, where does this self-discipline actually show up?
Oh, it's everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Discipline is refusing to just default back to your native language when an English conversation gets a bit tricky or complex.
Right, pushing through the discomfort.
Yes. Or it's when you commit to studying, say, complex financial terminology for 30 minutes every single day, even when you're completely wiped out from a 10-hour workday.
The easy path is just collapsing on the sofa.
Of course. The discipline path is showing up anyway, training your mind for that next high-stakes negotiation or presentation.
Or think about intentional scheduling. Waking up early, say an hour before you really need to start work. That's rarely a joyous experience, is it? Especially on a cold, dark morning.
No, definitely not joyous.
But discipline ensures you get up anyway. Why? Because you've already decided that specific hour is dedicated time. Maybe for reviewing key presentation slides in English or reading that crucial industry report before everyone else.
And it's also evident in the tiny decisions, the micro decisions throughout the day. For professionals, maintaining peak performance requires physical energy, right?
Yeah, totally.
Discipline is what guides you past the instant sugar hit from a fizzy drink or, a packet of crisps during that mid-afternoon slump.
Choosing water instead. Or maybe a piece of fruit.
Exactly. Opting instead for water and a nutritious snack. You're choosing the greater value sustained energy over the easy instant gratification choice.
Okay, so we've established discipline is this consistent process. Making the right choice, prioritizing the difficult but valuable long-term outcome over the easy, fun, short-term comfort. What's really encouraging, though, as the research emphasizes, is that this isn't some fixed trait you're born with.
Absolutely not.
Sure.
That idea that some people are just born disciplined, it's a total myth. Self-discipline is a behavioral tool. It's a skill set.
Like a muscle.
Very much like a muscle. You build it, you strengthen it through small, deliberate daily practice. You don't walk into a gym for the first time and immediately try to lift 200 pounds, do you?
No, definitely not.
Yep.
You'd fail or worse, get injured.
Right. You start small, maybe 5 repetitions of really light weight, and then you gradually increase the load, increase the frequency. It's incremental.
And the beauty of that analogy, I think, is that the growth in discipline seems to be transferable. That strength you build by, say, consistently making your bed or waking up just 15 minutes earlier, that directly translates into the persistence you need to tackle complex business grammar rules or maintain focus during hours of maybe quite dry, formal English report writing.
That's a really key point. The strength is generalizable, but we also need to be mindful of the risks inherent in the muscle analogy.
Which is?
Overtraining, burnout. A really common pitfall for highly motivated learners, actually, is trying to change too much, too fast.
Ah, the New Year's resolution effect.
Exactly. That doesn't build discipline. It just leads to burnout, mental exhaustion, and you often end up regressing. You have to be kind to the muscle, metaphorically speaking. Start small, increase the challenge slowly. Discipline is trained incrementally.
That distinction, managing the load to avoid burnout, that feels incredibly important for long-term consistency. And knowing this is a trainable muscle, it leads us right into maybe the biggest cognitive trap most high achievers fall into, relying on the feeling of motivation. All right, let's tackle it. The heavyweight champion of false starts. Motivation. We've all felt it, that incredible surge of enthusiasm when we start a new language course or, a big business initiative.
Oh, yeah. It feels fantastic, productive, exciting.
But the research draws a very sharp, very necessary contrast between that feeling and the enduring power of discipline.
It really does. Motivation is fundamentally, it's a neurological event. It's often powered by dopamine hits in the brain. It's an emotion.
So it comes and goes.
Exactly. You feel it sometimes. You don't feel it other times. It's like a spark, It flares up brightly when you imagine the end result, speaking fluent English, delivering that killer presentation.
Feels good thinking about it.
It does. But it's inherently unreliable because it relies on external triggers, maybe, or just your internal mood state, which changes constantly.
I like that image. Motivation is the spark, lights up quickly. But discipline. Discipline is the crucial, steady fuel. It's the fire that burns slowly, consistently, every single day.
Regardless of whether you've had a good night's sleep or a really stressful meeting.
So if you only wait for that spark to ignite.
You'll spend most of your time cold. You won't make consistent progress.
And that brings us to what you called the consistency principle, which seems paramount, particularly for skill acquisition like language learning.
Absolutely paramount. Motivation encourages action only when you feel excited, when you're in the mood. Discipline ensures action anyway.
Right.
So if your strategy for learning business English relies solely on waiting for the mood to strike, well, you simply won't study often enough to reach any meaningful level of fluency. It just won't happen.
This is where we maybe need to bring in that idea of compound interest, but apply it to learning. Like Ali, the ambitious student mentioned in our source material.
Yes, Ali. Good example.
On Monday, he's super motivated. The spark is huge. He studies English for 2 solid hours, absorbing vocabulary, practicing grammar. It feels like a massive win.
Feels great. Ticks the box.
But then Tuesday arrives. Maybe Ali had a rough night. He's tired. The motivation spark, it's gone.
Vanished.
So he thinks, I'll skip today. I did so much yesterday. I deserve a break.
Rationalization kicks in.
Totally. Then Wednesday, maybe he completely forgets his commitment because the initial excitement has just evaporated. So over a 5-day work week, Ali's achieved maybe 2 hours of highly irregular study.
Right. A burst, then nothing.
Now, the disciplined approach, that looks completely different, doesn't it?
Utterly different. The disciplined approach would commit Ali to studying consistently for, let's say, just 25 minutes every single day, 5 days a week.
That sounds less exciting, maybe, than the 2-hour burst.
Sounds less exciting. But look at the result. By the end of the week, the disciplined Ali has achieved over 2 hours of consistent study.
Ah, okay. Consistency versus the spike.
And consistency is where the magic happens in learning. Real progress in language mastery or any complex professional skill relies on consistent, spaced repetition. That 25 minutes daily ensures the knowledge actually gets consolidated in the brain.
The muscle gets stressed just enough.
Just enough. And the habit gets reinforced. Ali's big, motivated burst on Monday, his brain probably forgot most of it by Wednesday. His disciplined 25 minutes daily, that embeds the knowledge much more permanently.
The lesson seems clear then. Sustained, regular effort is just mathematically superior to sporadic intensity.
Absolutely. And this reveals the actual secret, if you like, of professional success highlighted in the sources. Highly successful individuals, top athletes, prolific writers, business people operating globally.
They're not necessarily more motivated than the rest of us, are they?
No. That's the key insight. They're simply more disciplined.
They don't wait for inspiration or the perfect feeling before tackling that difficult report or practicing their negotiation phrases in English.
Not at all. They've built systems. They've built routines and habits that are powered by discipline. And they show up and perform the work regardless of their mood, their energy level, or whether the task feels particularly inspiring that day.
Their commitment to the process overrides their mood.
You've got it. Their ability to manage their mood has been overridden by their commitment to the process.
And if you're engaging with something like business English, which requires absorbing nuanced vocabulary, understanding cultural context, performing under pressure,
Yeah.
you really need that steady burn, don't you?
You absolutely do. It's the consistent exposure to complex phrases, the regular practice of high-level communication, even when it feels awkward or hard, that differentiates the successful learner from the one who eventually gives up.
So discipline builds strong habits.
And strong habits are essentially the infrastructure of long-term professional success.
Okay. So once we understand the necessity of this steady, methodical approach, we can move on to the practical tools. How do we actually build these automatic habits without just relying on brute force willpower all the time?
Right, because we've established that just gritting your teeth and relying on raw willpower, well, that's a recipe for exhaustion, isn't it? You only have a finite amount each day. Exactly. Your willpower is like a battery. It drains throughout the day. So the smarter strategy, according to all the research we looked at, is to develop small, automated habits.
Things that require almost zero cognitive load.
Precisely. That's the key psychological hack. When an action becomes a habit, control shifts neurologically. It moves from the prefrontal cortex, which handles those intense, difficult, willpower-draining decisions, to the basal ganglia. That's the part of the brain that handles automatic processes, like riding a bike or tying your shoes.
So you're not using up that precious willpower.
We're not. You just do it automatically, which frees up your mental energy for the truly complex tasks, like, crafting a complex argument in business English or solving a difficult problem.
Okay, let's look at some of these surprisingly simple, yet apparently profoundly impactful starter habits that were mentioned in the source material. I think the first one, maybe the slightly military-style one, is often overlooked. Making your bed every single morning.
It sounds so trivial, doesn't it? But it delivers an immediate psychological win. By completing that one small, organized task right at the start of your day, you've basically primed your brain for success.
There was that famous speech by Admiral William H. McRaven about this, wasn't there?
That's right. His point was, if you make your bed, you've accomplished the first task of the day, it gives you a small sense of pride, and it encourages you to complete the next task and the next. It sets an organizational tone.
For me, the indispensable habit is writing a very short to-do list. And the sources wisely suggest limiting it, right? Just 3 or 4 essential things.
Yes, keep it short. This isn't about capturing absolutely everything you could possibly do. It's about identifying the critical few non-negotiables for that day. That small list acts as a blueprint for disciplined action.
Keeps you focused, gives you a sense of control.
Exactly. Control and focus. Additionally, there are foundational habits that reinforce control over our basic physiology and environment, like waking up at the same time every day.
Even on weekends.
Ideally, yes, even on weekends. It regulates your circadian rhythm, which stabilizes your energy levels, crucial for sustained focus during the workday.
And simple things, like putting your phone away during focused work.
Absolutely critical. Putting your phone away, maybe turning off notifications during dedicated study or work sessions, it just cuts off the main supply line of distraction. Simple, but powerful.
And what about taking breaks? The research suggests discipline also involves the discipline to actually stop working sometimes.
That's right. Taking short, scheduled breaks is not laziness. It's an act of mental self-discipline. It prevents cognitive fatigue, allows your brain to consolidate information, and actually helps you maintain focus longer overall.
And the water thing. Drinking water first thing.
Another small, easy win. Hydration is key for brain function. Starting your day hydrated just sets you up better physically and mentally, supporting focus later on.
Okay, so those are some foundational habits.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most powerful implementation techniques we reviewed was something called habit stacking. The sources called it the after-then rule.
Yes, habit stacking. It's fantastic. It's a brilliant technique for integrating new behaviors, especially something easily forgotten like daily business English practice, into your existing routine.
How does it work exactly?
Well, it works by connecting a new, desired behavior to an old, established one, an existing neurological pattern. So instead of relying on a vague commitment like, oh, I'll try to study English sometime today,
Which usually means never.
pretty much, instead you establish a rigid automatic sequence. For example, after I drink my morning coffee, that's the established habit, then I will review 15 minutes of new technical English vocabulary. That's the new habit.
Ah, so you're piggybacking the new habit onto the momentum of the old one.
Exactly. The brain quickly adopts the sequence because the trigger, finishing coffee, is already automatic. It makes the disciplined action feel like a natural extension.
So for a professional, maybe it's after I check my emails for the first time, then I will spend 10 minutes practicing difficult pronunciation sounds.
Perfect example. Or, after I finalize my calendar for the day, then I will spend 10 minutes recording myself practicing formal presentation language. It links the action to a fixed point.
But here's the critical warning, right? Which addresses that risk of burnout we mentioned, the slow build rule.
Yes, this is absolutely crucial. You cannot try to implement 6 new habits simultaneously on Monday morning.
Recipe for disaster.
Guaranteed failure. It just depletes your willpower battery immediately. You must start small, think tiny, and build slowly, like making incremental investments.
So choose one habit.
Choose one tiny habit. Maybe it's just 10 minutes of targeted English listening on your commute. Maybe it's just making your bed. And practice that one thing every single day without exception until it feels automatic.
Discipline grows little by little.
Little by little. Consistency in that tiny habit is infinitely more powerful than trying to achieve massive, unsustainable goals right out of the gate.
That focus on the micro habit, that feels like where the journey really begins. And once those habits start to form, they need direction, don't they? They need a destination to power towards.
Exactly. Which brings us to how goals and planning provide the structure for all that disciplined effort.
Okay, so we've got discipline as the engine, habits as maybe the automated transmission.
Nice analogy.
But where are we driving this high-powered vehicle? Discipline without clear direction is just, well, it's efficiency misapplied, isn't it? You might be working hard, but going in circles.
Absolutely. And this is where goals and planning come in to give our efforts structure and meaning. Goals provide the vision. They provide the ultimate destination.
They answer the where do I want to go question.
Precisely. Without a clearly defined professional goal or a specific language learning goal, you, the learner, are basically walking without a map.
And it's easy to get discouraged then.
Yeah.
Or distracted.
So easy. Or simply give up because you can't accurately measure your progress or even confirm you're moving in the right direction at all.
And if the goal is really big, like achieve professional fluency in business English, that can feel pretty overwhelming on its own.
Hugely overwhelming. And that's where planning steps in. Planning is the granular step-by-step path. It's the how-to guide that breaks that monumental task down into manageable, daily disciplinary actions.
So a good plan stops you from getting distracted because it tells you exactly what you need to do next.
Yes, it dictates the specific action required. Let's make this practical, thinking about professional language goals. Your overall goal might be something like, successfully lead the Q4 project review meeting entirely in English without needing to refer constantly to my notes.
Okay, that's a clear, ambitious goal. What would the plan look like?
Well, the corresponding plan then breaks this down into tactical steps that require daily discipline. For instance, step 1. Practice role-playing key debate scenarios or Q&A sessions for 15 minutes daily.
Okay.
Step 2. Maybe listen actively to one English language industry video or podcast every night during your commute or while making dinner to maintain immersion.
Right. Keep the input going.
Step 3. Learn, say, 5 new formal verbs and maybe 5 complex business idioms each morning, specifically related to analysis, forecasting, or presenting data, whatever is relevant to that meeting.
That plan feels much more manageable than just get fluent.
Exactly. And it's incredibly valuable because it removes decision fatigue. You don't wake up and wonder, should I study English today? What should I study? The plan dictates. After you finish lunch, you must practice role-playing for 15 minutes.
It channels your disciplinary energy effectively towards high-leverage activities.
Perfectly put, high-leverage activities. And the research also highlights the simple but profound power of actually writing these goals down.
Why is writing them down so effective?
Committing a goal to paper or typing it out takes the abstract idea floating around in your head and makes it tangible. It makes the dream feel more real, and that dramatically increases the psychological likelihood that you'll actually initiate the required action.
So keep those goals visible, maybe near your workspace.
Definitely. Keep them visible. And furthermore, you absolutely must institute some kind of rigorous tracking system.
Tracking your progress, like ticking boxes.
Yes. Tracking progress is a really profound mechanism for self-reinforcement. When you check off a task, okay, I completed my 15 minutes of scenario practice today, tick. That provides a small, immediate sense of accomplishment.
Ah, a little dopamine hit, but for doing the right thing.
Exactly. A dopamine hit specifically for adherence. And that small win acts as immediate motivation, the good kind of motivation to continue the next day.
So it creates positive feedback loop. Discipline feeds success. Success feeds more discipline.
Precisely. Day by day, checking that box reinforces the habit and turns those simple plan steps into an automatic routine.
And we should emphasize again, these foundational goals, they don't need to be massive, earth-shattering things initially, do they?
Not at all. Small, simple goals are often best to start. Things like, I will actively use 2 new business idioms correctly in my internal team communication this week. Or even just, I will read 1 single page of an English technical manual related to my field today.
Why start so small?
Because achieving those small goals builds confidence. It reinforces the discipline muscle incrementally. It proves to yourself again and again that you are capable of consistency. That builds momentum.
Okay, so the roadmap is clear. Set clear goals, translate them into a simple, actionable plan with daily steps, write it down, and track your progress religiously.
That structure is the framework. It allows your discipline to operate at maximum efficiency, driving you towards where you want to go.
That roadmap looks great on paper. Beautiful, even. But we all know the path itself is rarely smooth, right? Real life involves friction, setbacks, roadblocks, things that try to derail even the most well-intentioned plans.
Oh, absolutely. Building discipline is difficult. It requires effort, which is precisely why we need specific strategies ready for the most common challenges that stop people in their tracks.
Okay, let's tackle the big one first. The monster under the bed. Just sheer paralyzing inertia. That feeling often described simply as laziness.
We've all felt it. Sometimes you just look at your business English task, maybe it's a complex grammar exercise, or drafting a formal report, and you feel that heavy, I just can't feel it, that drag.
So what's the fix?
Yeah.
The sources mentioned a brilliant psychological maneuver, the 5-minute rule.
Yes, the 5-minute rule. And it's important to understand this isn't just about trying hard for 5 minutes. It's about psychologically tricking your brain into just starting.
How does that work?
When you're facing that resistance, that feeling, you commit to doing the task for just 5 minutes. You literally tell yourself, okay, I only have to work on this proposal, or I only have to study this vocabulary list for 5 minutes. If I still hate it after 5 minutes, I can stop.
So the goal isn't finishing the task in 5 minutes.
No. The goal of the 5-minute rule is simply overcoming the inertia of starting, breaking through that initial resistance.
And what often happens after those first 5 minutes?
Well, quite often, the task doesn't seem so daunting anymore. The process of just starting generates its own momentum. Once you have some cognitive engagement, the perceived effort required to continue is far less than the initial effort required just to begin.
So you might just keep going.
You very often do. But even if you do stop after, say, 6 or 7 minutes, you've still won. You broke the cycle of procrastination, you took action, and you reinforced the habit of starting. That's a victory.
Okay, strategy 1 for laziness, the 5-minute rule. What's the second massive challenge, especially in our hyper-connected modern world?
Distraction. Specifically, the endless seductive pull of the phone, social media notifications, email alerts, general digital noise.
It's constant, isn't it?
It is, and the neuroscience here is really clear. Task switching, constantly shifting your attention, incurs a massive cognitive cost. It leaves behind what researchers sometimes call cognitive residue. Every single time you glance at a notification, you derail your deep work focus.
So the fix has to be structural, environmental discipline.
It really does. You need to consciously identify and physically commit to a deep workspace, or at least a deep work time block, for your focused study or high-value professional tasks.
And turn things off.
Turn off all non-essential notifications on your computer, on your phone. And here's the difficult but absolutely necessary move for most people. Physically put your phone far away.
Not just face down on the desk.
Ideally, no. Put it in another room, out of sight, out of reach. If the source of distraction is immediately accessible right there next to you, your discipline will likely fail 9 times out of 10 when that urge hits. Make friction work for you, not against you.
Right. Okay, challenge number 3, the classic chronic professional complaint. Lack of time. The excuse we all use, I'm just too busy, I have no time to study English, work on self-improvement, etc.
Ah, yes, the time scarcity myth. We have to challenge that excuse directly. Look, we all operate within the same 24 hours in a day. The real issue is usually not having enough time.
It's about prioritizing.
It's almost always about prioritizing time for what is genuinely important to your long-term professional growth. Discipline requires you to honestly analyze your calendar, maybe even track your time for a few days, and ruthlessly prune away low-value activities to create the space.
Finding the time versus making the time.
Exactly. And think about the compounding effect again. If you can genuinely only find 10 or 15 minutes a day, but you apply that consistently to a focused task, like business English vocabulary review,
That adds up.
it compounds into a massive difference over weeks and months. It yields far greater returns than randomly finding, say, 3 free hours once every 2 weeks. Consistency beats quantity here.
Okay, makes sense. Now the final, maybe most soul-crushing challenge, giving up too early. People try their new disciplined habits, they stick with it for a few days, maybe a week. They don't see immediate dramatic results, they're not suddenly fluent, they haven't gotten that promotion yet, and they conclude, this discipline thing just doesn't work for me.
Yes, the impatience trap. Success, especially with a skill as complex and nuanced as high-level language proficiency, takes profound patience. You have to remember the discipline muscle analogy again.
It needs daily training.
It needs daily training, but progress isn't always linear, and setbacks or failures are absolutely inevitable. You will miss a day. You will make mistakes.
And that mistake doesn't wipe out all the previous effort.
Absolutely not. That one missed day, that one slip-up, does not negate the previous weeks or months of consistent effort. The key is not to spiral into self-criticism and give up entirely.
So what's the discipline response to failure or a missed day?
It's really simple. Self-compassion coupled with immediate re-entry. Don't beat yourself up. Acknowledge the slip, maybe briefly reflect on why it happened, and then simply start again the very next day. No drama.
Maybe have a plan for getting back on track.
That's a great idea. Establishing a re-entry ritual can be really helpful. Maybe it's reviewing your written goals first thing the morning after a missed day. The point is, you're not pursuing perfection. You're pursuing relentless recovery and consistency over the long haul.
Okay, let's connect all these threads now. We've got self-discipline as the engine, the habits as the automated transmission, the goals and plans as the map. Where does this whole system specifically take the dedicated business English learner?
It takes them to genuine competency and, just as importantly, confidence, much faster and far more robustly than relying on fleeting motivation ever could.
Because achieving fluency, especially that really nuanced high-stakes language you need in boardrooms or complex reports, it's not about one spectacular effort, is it?
Not at all. It's about showing up every single day, whether you're tired, whether you're busy, whether you're feeling completely overwhelmed by the difficulty of translating your complex thoughts accurately into English. Consistency is the sole key to fluency.
So discipline means you actually study the specialized terminology or practice that presentation script when you don't feel like it.
Yes. It means leveraging what might otherwise be dead time, maybe using your commute or a walk, to actively listen to an English industry podcast, not just scrolling or listening to music.
It means practicing speaking, maybe, even if you're alone.
Definitely. Practicing speaking complex sentences out loud for just 10 minutes. Rehearsing common negotiation phrases or presentation opening lines until they feel natural and become automatic under pressure.
The research highlighted a really crucial insight here too, didn't it? about the most successful learners.
It did. The most successful language learners are rarely the smartest in terms of raw aptitude, or even the fastest learners initially. They're simply the most consistent ones.
They just keep showing up.
They keep showing up. They are the individuals who maintain a non-negotiable routine. Maybe watching English industry news every morning, repeating complex phrases they hear, writing new vocabulary words into a journal or an app every single day. They value the process over the feeling.
That power of routine. That really feels like the superpower here. You don't necessarily need to block out half your Saturday for intensive study.
No, not at all. Just 15 to 20 focused minutes every single day, applied consistently. The cumulative effect over the course of a year is exponential. It's massive.
And it changes, doesn't it? It transitions from feeling like an arduous chore into becoming a core professional habit. And then eventually it just becomes part of your lifestyle, a lifestyle that actively supports your career trajectory.
Exactly. And remember that timing trap we discussed earlier. Professionals, maybe you listening right now, often wait for the perfect time.
When this big project is finished.
Yeah.
Or when things calm down a bit.
Right. Or when I feel really inspired, or when I have a full hour free. Look, if you wait for motivation or the mythical perfect moment to start seriously improving your business English,
You might be waiting forever.
you really might. The perfect time is always, always now. Even 5 minutes now is better than an hour planned for next week.
So the message is, embrace discipline. Establish a small, non-negotiable daily routine for learning and practicing high-stakes English. Stick to it relentlessly.
Even when it's hard, even when you don't see results immediately.
And you will see profound results in your professional communication, your confidence, probably within a matter of months.
Self-discipline genuinely is your most reliable asset, your superpower on the journey to professional mastery in English, or really in any demanding field. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow, okay. That was a really comprehensive deep dive, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We moved way beyond just the vague idea of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
We defined it as that crucial executive function. We established its absolute superiority over fleeting motivation for long-term goals. We detailed small, actionable habits you can implement literally today.
Starting tiny.
Starting tiny. And we built that clear roadmap using specific goals, planning, and those all-important tracking mechanisms.
Yeah, and I think the core takeaway, if there's one thing to remember, is just undeniable. Self-discipline isn't some mystical born talent or fixed trait. It is a critical professional skill.
Something you build.
Something you build and strengthen step by step, day by day. You don't need to be perfect. You absolutely don't. You just need to be consistently persistent.
Start small. Take that intentional action. Use the tools, like the 5-minute rule, when inertia inevitably strikes.
Exactly. Don't let the you feeling win.
Right. And if your professional goal involves speaking better English, leading meetings more confidently, or simply feeling more competent and effective in your global work environment, discipline is the fundamental tool. It's the structural support that ensures you stay focused and grow, slowly but surely, towards that high-level achievement.
So now it really is over to you, the listener. Don't just let this knowledge sit there as interesting theory. We want to challenge you, starting today.
What's the challenge?
Set one small, measurable English-related goal for this week. Just one. Keep it tiny. Maybe it's learning 3 new phrasal verbs relevant to your job. Then, create a simple plan using that habit stacking method we talked about. Connect it to an action you already do automatically, maybe right after your first coffee or during your commute.
And follow it every day.
Follow it every single day this week, even if it's only for 10 minutes. Just build that initial consistency.
And if you maintain that small, consistent effort, what happens?
You will look back in maybe 3 months, maybe 6, and be genuinely surprised, I think, at the cumulative progress you've made in your skills, in your confidence, in your overall professional competency.
Okay. A final thought to leave our listeners with.
Remember this, maybe write it down. Discipline is the essential bridge between your goals and your success. You already have the vision of where you want to go professionally. Now you have the proven map, the tools for how to actually get there.
Focus on relentless consistency.
Not unattainable perfection. That's the key.
Excellent. Until next time, stay strong, stay focused, and keep learning.
Treat discipline. They see it as a skill, one related to cognitive control.
Cognitive control.
Yeah, it's your ability to control your impulses, manage distractions, and sort of Regulate your emotional responses. In psychological terms, we're talking about executive functioning.
Executive functioning. Okay, that sounds pretty important, like the CEO of the brain or something.
That's a great way to put it. It's exactly like that. Executive functioning is the brain's sort of highest management system. It handles the planning, the organizing, decision-making.
All the big picture stuff.
All the big picture stuff and controlling those really powerful instant impulses we all get. So discipline, then. It isn't really about brute force, like gritting your teeth.
Okay.
It's more about having a strong inner voice, but one that's trained, trained to follow the plan that the CEO, the executive function, set out.
Even when the rest of the brain is screaming, just relax, watch a video.
Precisely. Even then.
That makes it feel much more tangible, I think. It's a mechanism, not just like a personality trait you either have or you don't.
Exactly. It's a system you operate.
And we can see this playing out everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're chasing complex professional goals. Like, let's take business English learning, for example.
Okay. Yeah. Good example. Self-discipline here translates directly into consistency.
How so?
Well, it's studying that specialized English vocabulary, the stuff related to your specific industry, maybe for 30 minutes every day, even when you're completely exhausted after a long day of, say, budget reviews.
Right. Or when the market news is stressing you out.
Or simply when you just don't feel like moving from the sofa. That sustained action day after day, no matter how you feel that, is discipline in action.
Or think about those high-impact decisions that really drive careers forward. It's maybe waking up early, even on those horrible, cold, dark mornings, not just to quickly check email, but to dedicate specific, focused time to goal-oriented tasks.
Like what?
Like maybe drafting a complex strategy document, or practicing a really difficult presentation in English before you have to give it.
Or even using your lunchtime maybe to review industry news in English rather than just, chatting aimlessly.
That's a good one. It's those small choices.
And it's crucial, I think, to also highlight the even smaller, maybe more personal choices that build this muscle.
Right.
Like choosing that nutritious, planned meal over the easy, instant gratification of, say, chips and sweets.
Why is that discipline, though? Seems just like healthy eating.
Because the disciplined choice supports your long-term vitality, your cognitive function, and those are absolutely non-negotiable if you want professional endurance, right? You need your brain to work well consistently.
Okay, that makes sense. It fuels the engine.
Exactly.
So I think we really have to address the whole nature versus nurture thing here, because so many people assume discipline is just something you're born with.
Yeah, like a talent.
Right, a trait you either possess or you lack, like, I don't know, having naturally curly hair or something.
And the scientific consensus in the sources we looked at, it's pretty unambiguous on this. Self-discipline is not an innate trait.
Really? Not at all?
No, it can be built. Just like a physical muscle. Think about the gym analogy.
Okay.
When you go to the gym, you don't start by trying to lift the absolute heaviest weight.
In a way, you'd injure yourself.
Right. You start small, you create these tiny micro tears in the muscle fiber, and as they heal, the muscle actually grows stronger. Discipline works the same way.
So applying that analogy to executive functioning, how do we train that CEO muscle in our brain then?
Through the daily practice of small things. Really small things sometimes.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so every time you successfully choose the long-term, maybe harder choice over the immediate, easy one, let's say, forcing yourself to finish that last paragraph of your report when you're desperate for a break. Or maybe studying those 5 new technical terms in English instead of just scrolling through social media for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Every time you do that, you're building that capacity. You're doing a rep for your discipline muscle.
Ah, okay. Like a mental repetition.
Exactly. And over time, that capacity grows, and it actually requires less mental energy, less willpower to make the discipline choice next time. It gets easier.
And the reward for putting in this targeted effort, it seems pretty substantial, right? It's far beyond just, checking items off a to-do list.
Oh, absolutely. The more discipline you manage to integrate into your routines, the more kind of scalable success you're likely to see in your life generally.
When meeting performance targets at work.
Definitely. In mastering complex skills like business English, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in achieving that kind of true professional resilience, being able to handle the pressure.
So that strong inner voice we talked about, the trained one, it translates directly into real, tangible, compounding results over time.
That's the key takeaway, compound results. Okay, so now that we've hopefully nailed down what discipline really is, this skill of cognitive control, this trainable muscle, let's turn to its unreliable cousin, motivation.
Motivation. Everyone loves motivation.
Everyone loves it, but why is discipline actually more essential, more critical than motivation for sustained long-term success?
This is a really important point, I think.
Yeah.
It's where people often get stuck, right? They wait around, hoping for motivation to strike them like lightning.
Like waiting for inspiration to hit a painter, yeah. But as we sort of touched on, motivation is fundamentally inconsistent. It's basically a mood.
It feels good when it's there, though.
It does, but it's more than just a mood, actually. It's chemically quite volatile.
How so?
Well, motivation is often tied to novelty, something new, and a surge of dopamine in the brain.
Okay, the reward chemical.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you start a new project, let's say a new business English course, your brain registers the novelty, it sees the potential reward, and boom, it releases dopamine. That gives you that spark of excitement.
Like, I feel energized, I want to do it.
But the brain adapts incredibly quickly. When the novelty wears off, which is usually, within a few days or maybe a couple of weeks.
That chemical flood just recedes.
It recedes, yeah. And the motivation often crashes right along with it.
So if our progress relies only on that inconsistent, chemically driven spark, well, studying or doing the hard work just won't happen very often, will it?
Probably not consistently, no. We're essentially setting ourselves up for failure if that's all we rely on.
That's a bit depressing.
Well, it doesn't have to be. We can use those compelling analogies from our sources here. Think of it this way. Motivation is like a spark.
Okay.
It's brilliant. It's exciting when it happens. It's a great way to get the initial fire started. But discipline is the slow-burning fire itself. It's the consistent heat generated every single day that keeps the whole system running, keeps you warm.
You can't really warm a house with just a single spark, can you?
Exactly. It feels good for a second, but then it's gone.
Okay, I hear you arguing that motivation is unreliable. But surely motivation must matter at the start, doesn't it? How do we use that initial excitement without becoming totally dependent on it?
That's a really critical question. And yes, motivation is absolutely crucial for initiation, for getting started.
Getting you to the starting line.
Precisely. It gets you to the starting line. But, and this is the key part, as soon as you are moving, discipline must immediately take over the steering wheel for sustainment, to keep you going.
Okay, discipline takes over.
Let's maybe deepen the understanding with that Ali example from the sources. We can put it into a professional learning context.
All right. Let's imagine Ollie is really motivated initially to master complex financial English vocabulary. He needs it for his job.
Okay. So on Monday, Ollie feels super excited. He dives in, spends maybe 2 solid hours studying, translating technical financial reports.
Feels great. Massive wave of accomplishment.
Huge effort. This is motivation at its absolute peak. But then Tuesday comes around. He has a difficult day at work. He's tired. The material doesn't feel quite so new and exciting anymore, so he skips it just for today.
Okay, happens to the best of us.
But then by Wednesday, he feels a bit guilty about missing Tuesday. The gap feels wider now, harder to bridge, and he just puts it off entirely, forgets about it.
And the result?
0 sustained learning over the course of the week, just that one big burst on Monday.
Right. Now contrast that with the disciplined learner. How do they approach it?
The disciplined learner, well, they don't wait for the feeling. They recognize the psychological trap here. There's something called time discounting.
Time discounting. What's that?
It's our tendency as humans to value immediate, smaller rewards like rest, or scrolling social media, or watching TV much more highly than future, larger rewards, like achieving fluency or getting that promotion.
So we prefer the small win now over the big win later.
We do, instinctively. And the disciplined learner knows this. They know that consistency is the only way to really combat that time discounting effect.
How does their week look?
They study a little bit every single day. Maybe it's just 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes of intense, focused practice. And they do it regardless of whether they feel excited or tired or bored or stressed.
That steady, smaller investment adds up.
Exactly. It's far, far better in the long run than relying on those rare, intense spikes of motivation Ollie had.
So real progress then, the kind that actually translates into career advancement or genuine fluency in English.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from those single explosive days of excitement.
No. It comes from being relentlessly, almost boringly, predictably consistent.
Boringly consistent. I like that.
And here's what the sources suggest is the real secret of success when you look at high achievers. Successful people, CEOs, top athletes, specialized writers, leaders in any field, They are not necessarily more motivated than everyone else. They might not feel like working out or practicing any more than we do.
Really? So what's the difference?
They are simply more disciplined. They have built systems, routines, habits to ensure they show up. They stick to the routine and they do the work, regardless of their momentary emotional state.
They treat their commitments like non-negotiable appointments.
Exactly like that. It's just something they do, like brushing their teeth.
This is really the critical call to you, the listener, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your goal shouldn't be to feel constantly excited about learning complex grammar rules or tackling tedious market analysis in English.
No, definitely not. If you wait for the perfect mood to strike, you're basically surrendering control of your progress to your transient feelings, which change all the time.
So the real goal is to build a steady system.
Build the system. Practice even when it feels hard, and let the discipline, the routine, carry you forward when that motivation inevitably, predictably fades. It will fade. Count on it.
Okay, so if motivation is this unreliable spark, where does our sustained energy actually come from? How do we keep going? The sources seem to point really clearly towards automation.
That's right. We need to take the internal debate, the choice, out of the equation as much as possible. And that brings us right to the power of daily habits.
Habits.
Habits are really the practical, boots-on-the-ground application of discipline. They are small, automatic actions, things you perform without having to consciously engage that high-level executive functioning we talked about.
So you don't have to think hard about them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When a task becomes a habit, we actually move its execution to a different part of the brain, the basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia.
Okay. That's the part that handles routines and automation. And this is brilliant because it saves your limited supply of willpower, your executive function energy, for the truly challenging decisions you face during the day.
That is fascinating. So the goal is basically to make the necessary actions so automatic that you don't even have to fight yourself to start them.
That's the ideal, yeah.
So how do we start building these simple but hopefully high-impact automatic habits? Where do we begin?
We start small, maybe even deceptively small. Take the example mentioned in the sources of making your bed every single morning.
Making your bed. Really? A lot of people would dismiss that as totally trivial, wouldn't they? Does that really build discipline for, say, learning financial English?
It sounds trivial, I know. But the sources emphasize the immediate psychological win it provides.
A psychological win.
Yeah, it creates an organized feeling in just one small part of your life. And it signals to your brain that the day has started with a successful, completed task. It sets a tone.
It's like a tiny accomplishment first thing?
Exactly. It's something called psychological priming. It sets the tone and actually makes you slightly more likely to take on the next disciplined task, whatever that might be.
Okay, I can see that. But I do worry slightly that focusing on things that small might detract from tackling the real difficult work. Preparing for that global team meeting or writing a detailed quarterly report in English. Isn't that just a fancy form of, well, disciplined procrastination?
Yeah.
Avoiding the big stuff.
That's a really fair challenge, but the psychological principle still holds. You're building momentum. Think of making the bed as maybe the very first, very light repetition in your disciplined gym session for the day.
Okay, the warm-up rep.
Exactly. It's light, but it trains the muscle of routine. And once you have that little bit of momentum, then you transition to the more high-impact habits, like, for instance, writing a short, focused to-do list for the day.
And crucially, the sources recommend limiting that list,
right?
Not making it endless.
Yes, absolutely. Limit it to just maybe 3 or 4 highly critical items.
Why only 3 or 4?
Because this prevents you from feeling overwhelmed right at the start. And it ensures your limited energy, your focus, is directed towards the professional priorities that will actually move the needle on your goals.
Things like finalizing that presentation or dedicating specific time to learn those industry-specific English negotiation phrases you need.
Exactly. It gives you a sense of control over the day, which minimizes that feeling of just reacting to whatever comes your way.
Okay. What other kinds of high-impact routines are emphasized in the sources?
Establishing fixed routines that sort of govern your schedule is key. Waking up at the same time every day, for example.
Even on weekends?
Ideally, yes, even on weekends. It stabilizes your circadian rhythm, your body clock, and it anchors your day. Minimizing distractions is also vital. You have to fiercely protect your focused work time.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It is, but it's critical. That means turning off non-essential notifications on your phone and computer. Maybe setting specific deep work blocks on your calendar so people know not to interrupt you.
And that suggestion of physically putting your phone in another room,
Yes.
that feels extreme, but probably effective.
It's very effective, especially when you're tackling a high concentration task, like reviewing dense English contracts or trying to write something complex. Out of sight, out of mind really works.
Okay, so that focus on fixed time and controlling your environment, that leads us nicely into this powerful concept called habit stacking, doesn't it?
Yes. Habit stacking directly leverages the brain's, specifically the basal ganglia's, love for established routines.
So how does it work exactly?
Habit stacking is basically a strategy rooted in cue-based memory. You link a new habit, the one you want to build, to an existing habit that you already do automatically without thinking.
So you piggyback the new habit onto an old one.
Exactly. It makes it far easier to remember and eventually automate the new behavior because the cue is already built in.
And the structure for setting it up is really simple, isn't it? It's like a formula.
Beautifully simple. It's just, after I perform my current habit, I will perform my new habit.
Okay, give us a few concrete examples, maybe specifically related to business English learning.
Sure. Let's say your existing automatic habit is pouring your morning coffee or tea.
Okay, do that every day.
Right. So you stack the new habit onto it. After I pour my coffee, I will review 5 key English terms related to my industry's current quarterly earnings report. Just 5 terms.
Okay, manageable. Another one.
Or maybe you always commute by public transport. That's an existing habit.
Yeah.
After I sit down on the train, I will listen to an English language business news podcast for 10 minutes before you check emails or anything else.
Okay, I see how that works. And maybe for a working professional who deals with a lot of email, maybe email fatigue, could you stack something onto a task you already do, even if it's annoying?
Absolutely. That can be really effective. For example, after I save the final draft of a major email I've written, I will spend just 5 minutes reading that email back, specifically looking for and correcting 2 common grammatical errors I know I often make.
So you anchor the learning behavior directly onto the existing professional workflow. Very clever.
It makes it part of the job, not an extra thing you have to remember.
Now, I think maybe the most important point in this whole section, the one we really need to stress, is the starting rule.
Yes.
We really can't emphasize enough the importance of starting small, maybe even infinitesimally small, and building slowly.
If you try to change everything all at once, starting Monday, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., exercise for an hour, study English for an hour, eat perfectly.
Yeah, that never works.
It never works. You'll quickly deplete your limited executive function capacity, your willpower.
Yeah.
It leads straight to burnout and usually complete collapse of the plan within days.
So the sources stress the compound effect instead.
Exactly. The power of tiny actions compounding over time. Even just 10 minutes of focused English practice or reading just one single paragraph of a challenging industry report in English. It builds that discipline muscle little by little.
The key is making the action so small, it feels almost impossible not to do it. Like it's harder to skip it than to just do it.
Precisely. You want to lower the bar for starting so much that you just step over it without thinking. So the advice is choose one tiny habit this week. Make it absolutely non-negotiable and practice it every single day. That is the true leverage point for building lasting discipline. Okay, so habits provide the engine, right? The power for daily discipline. But that engine needs a clear navigation system. It needs to know where it's going.
Otherwise, it's just spinning its wheels.
Exactly. So now let's talk about the structure that guides that daily discipline. Clear goals and detailed planning. Discipline without direction is just, well, wasted effort.
Right. And we need to understand the 2 distinct but complementary roles here. Goals give us the direction.
They show us precisely where we want to go, and that allows our executive functioning, our brain CEO, to prioritize effectively.
Because without a clear, maybe even written goal, the learner is essentially just walking without a map, aren't they?
Completely. And that makes it incredibly easy to justify giving up when things inevitably get difficult or boring.
Okay, so goals give the where. What about planning?
Planning shows us the actionable, sequential steps. It's the how to get there. And when goals are vague or fuzzy, discipline really suffers because you don't know what specific action to take next.
So the sources strongly advocate for using a structured framework for setting goals, don't they? Like the SMART criteria.
Yes, SMART is a classic for a reason. Your professional objectives, whether work-related or for English learning, they need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Give us an example of a vague goal versus a SMART goal, maybe in a business or English learning context?
Okay, a vague goal is something like, I want to speak English more fluently. We hear that all the time.
Right. What does that even mean? How do you measure it?
Exactly. It's useless for discipline. A disciplined SMART goal would be something like, I will be able to confidently lead a 30-minute discussion in English on our Q4 sales strategy without relying on notes by December 31st of this year.
Okay. That's specific, leading a discussion on Q4 sales, measurable 30 minutes without notes, achievable, presumably with effort, relevant to their job, and time-bound by December 31st.
Precisely. That defined target gives your discipline something concrete and unambiguous to aim for each day.
Okay, so you've set your SMART goal. What's the next step? The planning process.
Yes, and the planning process must relentlessly break that big SMART goal down into much smaller pieces. If the goal is, say, better business speaking skills,
The plan can't just be study more English.
no, that's still too vague. It needs to be broken down into specific micro-commitments, things you can actually schedule and do, maybe things you can stack onto existing daily habits, like we just discussed.
Okay, so what might those micro-commitments look like for the speaking goal?
The plan must include actionable, measurable steps. For example, I will practice role-playing common meeting scenarios in English for 15 minutes every weekday morning.
Okay.
I will watch one 10-minute English video related to my industry negotiation tactics every evening.
Right.
I will learn and practice using 5 new industry-specific phrases related to presentations each morning. This detailed plan becomes the tactical blueprint for your daily discipline.
And this leads us to another step the sources emphasize as being really crucial. The simple, physical act of writing it all down.
Yes, writing your goals, and especially your detailed plan, down on paper or in a document, it does something psychologically. It moves them out of the realm of just abstract wishes or daydreams.
And into committed reality.
Exactly. It makes the dream feel tangible, feel real, and it transforms it into a concrete roadmap that you can physically follow and, importantly, track.
It's essential, then, to break that big goal down into those small, trackable steps. The smaller, the better, it seems.
The smaller the better, especially at the beginning, because writing it down also instantly sets the stage for what might be the most powerful element in this whole section.
Which is?
The motivation loop that gets created through tracking your progress.
Tracking, keeping score.
Keeping score, yeah. Tracking is critical because it neatly bypasses the need for that unreliable spark of motivation we talked about earlier.
How does it do that?
It provides immediate, small successes. When you physically check off a task on your list, okay, I practiced pronunciation for 10 minutes today, your brain gets a small, satisfying hit of completion dopamine.
Okay, so you get a reward right away.
You get a reward right away. That small success feels good. Yes, I did it today. And that feeling gives you the internal motivation, the reinforcement to do it again tomorrow.
Which reinforces the disciplined behavior.
Exactly. Until it eventually forms an unbreakable habit. It creates its own positive feedback loop.
Absolutely. That feeling of accomplishment, even for a tiny step, reinforces the behavior far more effectively than waiting for some grand mood to strike you.
Much more reliable.
And one important reminder, often highlighted in the sources, is about the power of setting small starting goals. Don't aim too high initially.
Yes, never underestimate the power of the small goal, especially when building discipline. Start with something like, I will learn 10 new English vocabulary words related to finance this week.
That feels doable.
Or even, I will spend just 5 minutes reading a financial abstract in English today. These small, simple, clearly manageable wins build your competence, yes, but also your confidence incrementally.
And they create a kind of success spiral.
Precisely. Success builds confidence, and that confidence then fuels further discipline to take on slightly bigger steps. It snowballs upwards.
Okay, so for you listening, set SMART goals. Create a simple written plan with tiny steps, and take those small, steady, trackable steps every single day.
And over time, the synergy between your clear goals and your automated habits strengthens. And your success, whether in English or business, it gets closer much faster than you might anticipate.
Right, now we absolutely have to acknowledge the reality here. Building self-discipline is, well, it's often a struggle, isn't it?
It really is. We all face that internal resistance. Sometimes it's called the resistance with a capital R.
Yeah, and the sources identify, broadly, 4 common walls, psychological, sometimes logistical, that stop people dead in their tracks.
Right. And crucially, we need specific, sourced strategies to actually overcome them. It's not enough just to know they exist.
Okay, let's tackle them one by one. Challenge number 1.
Mm.
Good old-fashioned laziness. Or maybe just inertia.
That feeling where the task just seems too big or too hard, or frankly just plain boring, and it leads straight to procrastination.
Why does that happen?
It often happens because the brain naturally resists initiating anything that it perceives as requiring a high mental cost, a lot of effort.
Okay, so it's trying to conserve energy.
Basically, yes. And this is where we bring in the sort of technical strategy behind the 5-minute trick or the 5-minute rule.
Right. This sounds almost childishly simple, but you're saying it's actually scientifically grounded.
It is. It's entirely grounded in the concept of activation energy.
Activation energy, like in chemistry.
Exactly like in chemistry. Think of activation energy as that high initial friction, or the energy barrier that's required to start a complex chemical reaction.
Okay.
Or, in our case, a difficult or unpleasant task.
Yeah.
Your brain looks at the large goal, write that entire report, or study for an hour. It calculates the high mental cost of just starting.
And it automatically wants to avoid it. Nope. Too hard.
Precisely. It recoils.
Yeah.
The 5-minute trick works by telling your brain something different. It says, okay, brain, relax. I only have to do this for 5 minutes, just 5.
And 5 minutes feels like such a low barrier, such a small cost, that the brain doesn't bother putting up a big fight.
Correct. The perceived activation energy is drastically lowered. The goal isn't to finish the task in 5 minutes. The goal is simply to start and successfully get over that initial activation energy barrier.
And what usually happens after 5 minutes?
Well, often, once you're actually 5 minutes into the task, whether it's practicing a tricky English grammar point or maybe starting to write the introduction to that difficult email, you've built up enough momentum.
Or maybe got into a state of flow.
Or flow, exactly. You're engaged. And at that point, stopping actually becomes psychologically harder than just continuing for a bit longer. The hardest part is almost always just moving from 0 to 1, starting.
Okay, the 5-minute trick for activation energy. Got it.
Right.
What's the second major challenge?
The second one is often external, but it requires internal discipline to manage. Distractions.
Ah, yes. Phones, social media notifications, noisy colleagues, emails popping up constantly.
They constantly pull our attention away, don't they? And they seriously reduce both the quality and the quantity of our focused professional time.
And in today's global business environment, that ability to maintain focus, it's probably your most valuable professional resource.
Absolutely. So the fix, according to the sources, is to be highly intentional about your environment design.
Environment design, what does that mean?
It means actively structuring your physical and digital surroundings to make the easy choice, the disciplined choice. You make focus the path of least resistance.
Okay, but practically speaking, say you're in a busy corporate office or even working remotely where demands are constant. You can't always just turn your phone off completely, can you? You might need to be accessible for urgent client needs or team pings. How do you balance discipline with that required connectivity?
That definitely requires a more nuanced strategy than just turn everything off. You need to define specific blocks of deep work time.
Okay.
Maybe it's 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every morning. And you communicate clearly to your team. Unless it's an absolute emergency, I'm focusing during this time and will respond afterwards.
So setting expectations is key.
Crucial. And use tools, apps, or browser extensions that block non-essential websites during those blocks. And then, yes, physically remove the most tempting distraction, usually the phone.
But what if you need it for emergencies?
If it absolutely must be accessible for emergencies, put it face down, maybe across the room. So actually getting to it requires physical effort. It forces a conscious decision. Is this worth getting up for? Instead of just an impulsive glance every 2 minutes.
Making friction work for you, not against you.
Exactly. Increase the friction for distractions.
Yeah. Okay. Challenge number 3. This is the perennial excuse, isn't it? Lack of time. I'm just too busy. I have absolutely no time for dedicated English study or deep project planning.
We hear this constantly, but the sources suggest this needs to be fundamentally reframed. It's usually not a time problem, it's a prioritization problem.
Yeah.
Meaning everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. The key is managing that time effectively and critically, making time for what is truly important for your long-term goals, which often means having the discipline to say no to non-essential requests or low-value tasks that fill up your schedule.
So it's about protecting your time for high-priority activities.
Yes. And it's often not about finding a perfect, mythical 2-hour undisturbed slot for study that rarely exists. It's more about utilizing those small pockets of time, micro-learning slots throughout the day.
Right, like you said, 10 to 15 minutes applied consistently.
Yeah.
That really does make a huge difference over time, doesn't it? Especially for things like learning English vocabulary or reviewing notes just before a meeting.
Precisely. That 15 minutes of disciplined podcast listening during your commute or using a short coffee break to actively review your pronunciation of 5 key industry terms, it adds up to hours and hours over a month.
So it's about leveraging the small, often wasted gaps in your day and consciously dedicating them to your long-term goals instead of just letting them disappear.
Finding and using the in-between moments.
Okay, and finally, challenge number 4. Giving up too early. This happens all the time, right? People get discouraged because they don't see fast, spectacular results.
Yes. They start a new study plan for English, they don't magically feel fluent after 10 days, and they just stop. They conclude it's not working or they're not capable.
So what's the solution here? How do we combat that impatience?
The solution is really rooted in strategic patience and developing a realistic understanding of the learning or growth curve. Success takes time. Results are very rarely linear. They often come in spurts after long plateaus.
So manage expectations.
Manage expectations and constantly remind ourselves that discipline is that cognitive muscle. It must be trained every single day to get stronger. Think about it. If you skip going to the gym for a whole month, you lose strength, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's the same with discipline. If you start practicing the discipline habit, you lose momentum, you lose confidence. You have to train that discipline daily, even when results aren't obvious, to see those long-term returns. Consistency is the antidote to impatience.
And crucially, tied into this whole idea of long-term training and sticking with it, is the role of self-kindness or self-compassion. When we inevitably mess up, when we fail or miss a day, we tend to get trapped in this spiral of guilt and shame.
Yes, the all or nothing thinking. I missed one day, so I failed. I might as well give up completely. But self-kindness, viewed strategically, is actually a discipline in itself. It's about strategic resilience.
How so?
If you miss a day of study or you slip up on your work plan, it's not a catastrophe. It happens. The key is, don't beat yourself up relentlessly. Don't let that one mistake become an excuse to abandon the entire plan.
So what's the disciplined response?
The disciplined response is to acknowledge the slip-up, maybe briefly analyze why it happened. Was I too tired, too distracted? Did I overschedule? Learn from it if possible, and then immediately, without drama, just start again the next day. Get back on track.
That resilience, then. The discipline of not compounding a small failure into total abandonment. That's actually key to lasting success, isn't it?
It's absolutely fundamental because setbacks will happen. Discipline isn't about never failing. It's about getting back up quickly when you do.
Okay, let's really bring this home now, specifically for our listeners who are focused on achieving professional excellence and maybe particularly gaining business English fluency. Why is this whole framework, this architecture of discipline, habits, goals, and resilience, why is it the ultimate superpower for language acquisition?
Well, it's because language learning, maybe more than many other skills, fundamentally resists that motivated, big effort, quick fix approach.
You can't just cram fluency overnight.
You absolutely cannot. Learning English well, especially for complex business use, it's not about one intense video session you watch or one weekend you spend cramming grammar rules hoping it sticks.
So what is it about?
It's about the daily, consistent, sometimes frankly tedious process of showing up, doing the work, even when the material feels dull or you're already mentally drained from your actual job.
So discipline in this context means things like studying the complex technical vocabulary related to your specific industry, even when you really don't feel like it after work.
Yes. Or it means consistently listening to English podcasts about, say, macroeconomics or market trends during your commute or your walk, instead of just listening to music.
Making this slightly harder, more beneficial choice.
Exactly. It means maybe practicing speaking for just 10 minutes a day, even if you're alone in a room. Forcing yourself to structure your thoughts and maybe describe your workday out loud in English, or summarizing an English news article on an unfamiliar business topic.
That 10 minutes of deliberate, maybe uncomfortable practice, you're saying that's far more valuable than, say, 2 hours of motivated but very infrequent study once a month.
Far more valuable over the long term, yes, because it builds the habit and keeps the neural pathways active.
And the source material seemed to really highlight this consistency secret when looking at successful language learners.
It did. They often automate their learning process. They find ways to watch targeted videos daily, maybe during lunch. They consciously repeat phrases they hear. They make a non-negotiable habit of writing down and reviewing new words every single day.
And the point was, these successful learners aren't necessarily the ones with the highest natural aptitude, the highest IQ, or the fastest processing speed.
Not necessarily, no. They are simply the most consistent. They rely on their established routine, not on waiting for volatile inspiration or motivation to strike them.
They've built a system?
They've built the system and they trust the process.
Thinking about the time frame here, that compound effect we mentioned earlier really comes into play, doesn't it?
Massively. Just 15 to 20 minutes of high-quality, focused, disciplined practice every single day, maybe stacked onto an existing routine like your morning coffee or commute. It adds up exponentially over weeks and months.
It sounds small, but it accumulates.
It really does. And it quickly moves from feeling like an effort, something you have to force yourself to do, to becoming just a habit. And then eventually it transforms into a continuous learning lifestyle, where professional development, including improving your English, is just naturally integrated into your day. It's just what you do, almost effortlessly.
So the final call to action for you listening, it really has to be about implementing this now.
Absolutely. Don't wait for the mythical perfect time when you'll feel less busy or more motivated.
Because that time might literally never come.
It might never come. You have to be disciplined. Create one small, non-negotiable daily routine for your English learning or for pursuing your specific business goals, whatever they are, and just stick to it. Start today.
And if you do that,
You will trigger that powerful compound effect. And you will likely see big, tangible results much sooner than you think, maybe in just a few weeks or months. You'll find that discipline truly is the foundation that allows all your other efforts, your talent, your knowledge, even your occasional bursts of motivation to be fully utilized and lead to real success. #outro.
Wow, okay. That was a really detailed deep dive into the whole architecture of self-discipline, wasn't it?
It really was. We covered a lot of ground.
We define discipline not as willpower, but as trained cognitive control, that executive function. We contrasted it sharply with the unreliability of motivation.
Right. Motivation's the spark, discipline's the fire.
Exactly. We established the foundation of automatic daily habits using behavioral science tricks like habit stacking and starting small.
And we reviewed the critical roadmap provided by SMART goals and detailed written planning, plus tracking your progress to create that positive feedback loop.
And we armed ourselves, hopefully, against those common challenges. Laziness, distractions, lack of time, giving up too early, using specific strategies like the 5-minute trick and environment design, and of course, self-kindness.
Yeah, I really hope our listeners now feel, well, both empowered and maybe a bit relieved.
Relieved? How so?
Relieved that self-discipline isn't some fixed trait that you either have or you lack. It's genuinely a muscle you can build step by step, day by day.
You don't need to be perfect.
You absolutely don't need to be perfect. You just need to be resilient and reasonably consistent.
Exactly. Start small, take that first action, and remember the discipline of self-kindness. If you miss a day, don't let it derail the whole train. Just get back up the next day and try again. That resilience, that's the true mark of discipline, isn't it?
It really is. So if your professional goal involves speaking better English or securing that promotion or achieving a new level of success in your career, discipline is your strategic superpower. It's what ensures you stay focused and grow, slowly perhaps, but surely, towards your objectives.
So now it really is over to you, dear listener. Your turn. Set one small, measurable English goal or business goal for this week, maybe even just 10 minutes daily of deliberate, stacked practice.
Make a simple written plan for how you'll do it, and then follow it without exception if possible, but with self-kindness if you slip.
And if you do that,
you will be genuinely surprised, I think, at how far you can go in just 1 month, simply by bypassing that trap of waiting for motivation to strike. Remember that core takeaway from all the sources we discussed today. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your success. You can build that bridge. You just need to take one dedicated step at a time, starting now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, stay strong, stay focused, and keep building those essential habits. Bye for now.
Take care, everyone.